Hello, hello out there, everybody. Welcome to Oulton Park in Britain for round 4 of Track Limits Racing Sports Car Series. I'm Whelp Cakes in the booth. With me, as always, is Mr. Finicini. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Whelp. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. Got a lot of good racing action on offer for the folks at home here. Multi-class racing here at Oulton Park. I'm super excited about the circuit. I really like it when we go to those old school British GT style tracks. So with multi-class on offer here, so we got the LMP3s and the GT4s around Oulton Park. I think it's gonna make things a little bit spicy. What's your take on this category and track configuration?
I absolutely gonna have to agree with you. It is definitely gonna be interesting to see multi-class done on Oulton Park with so many narrow sections of track where even just passing in class is like not a super advisable thing to do. It's really gonna be interesting to throw in that mix of the faster LMP3s as they try to navigate traffic throughout the second and later stages of this race.
Yeah, it's really gonna be tough. Traffic management's gonna be a big deal. The good news for the drivers out there is they only have one chicane to navigate here, so that's gonna make it a little bit easier. So the fact that they don't have to deal with Britons, yeah, but at the same time too, hill slop and then going into K-Brook, right, the fast right-hander before you hit the backside of Oulton Park. I think it's going to be tough because you're going to be carrying so much more speed without that first chicane, as you just saw right there with an LMP3 locking up in the background. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty spicy. So, for you, sir, how much experience do you have around here at Oulton Park?
My experience with here has been pretty extensively in the GT4 Fixed series when I was first getting into iRacing about a year and a half ago. I'm a pretty young blood in that regard. And a little bit of Mazda MX-5s in those rookie series. And otherwise, I don't go here a whole lot. A lot of the endurance calendars, which is more of my focus, don't seem to take me here. So I'm very happy to be back. Got a lot of love for this place, so it's good to be back, like you were saying, with the old British GT circuits that we don't see a whole ton of in some of the faster categories.
Yeah, and especially you don't see this one a lot in multi-class unless you're driving like the really like slower stuff. But with the LMP3 around here, I think it's going to make things real spicy because rear locking is going to be a big deal going into that final chicane with the elevation change around here on track and the bumpy nature of it too. I think it's going to be a big deal. Also, that going through the fast left-hander at islands, go too far wide right before the shell hairpin, and you could bounce the car, maybe even break the floor. So it's gonna be interesting watching these LMP3s potentially skateboard off track. It's gonna be a wild ride. But as everyone at home can tell, we got 18 degrees ambient temperature, 70% humidity, partly cloudy skies, minimal wind. We are bringing you the Pro and AM categories in each class, so both GT4 and LMP3 have Pro and AM categories, and some really tight competition. We'll get to that in a moment, though. Single competition yellow is going to fire at the 20-minute mark, and as always, to make the strategy a little bit of a mix-up here, LMP3s are running 60% fuel, and GT4s are running 50% fuel capacity. So yeah, I was talking to the folks at home, Finn, about the standings right now. AM category and LMP3 got a bit of a boost in terms of competition with Gian Cardoso moving down to amateur. What other insights going into round number 4 are you keying in on?
I think that was one of my biggest ones is definitely going to be beyond hopping down the AM category to help kind of keep the upper, almost upper echelon, that first, podium sitters, as well as P4 and P5 with Zach Fisher and Sam Wilson, keeping them spicy, as well as also Eduardo hopping into the AM category to help kind of keep the middle pack on their toes as well. I think it's going to help keep the competition pretty close with those sections of drivers and keep the competition going, so that way they're not feeling like they're just lapping around people that are both faster or slower than them.
Yeah. So with Gian jumping in now, the battle to P1 and AM category now separated by 1 point between Gian Cardoso and Milo the First. So that's going to be interesting. Oh, looks like we're getting ready to go into qualifying right now. We're going to leave that right there on the current championship leader in LMP3 Pro, Mr. Ethan Hamlet, and now Christopher Blue, who is actually lighting up the AM category in GT4. He is currently 7 points back from Anthony Newman, who is leading that category. So GT4 AM, the battles are starting to kind of develop in pockets, but I think you'll agree with me on this one, Finn. I think the category to watch, Pro category in GT4.
I would have to agree, especially given that the third step of the podium is currently in a tie between Jared Jones and William Lewis. Excuse me. So it's definitely going to be a tight race for them too, and I think it's equally important to keep in mind that Ryan Buchanan, who's up in P2, is only 1 point ahead of them at 119. So it's going to be a tight battle for the podium spots. And Scott Fleming is going to have to keep a really good drive going, so that way he doesn't end up getting caught in that battle. While he has a decent lead, it's not something that he can, rest on any laurels at this point.
Yeah, and while the points, if you are following along in the Discord, while the point spread for Scott Fleming does have him 143 to Ryan's 119 in second place, just a reminder that we do have 2 drop rounds on offer, and Stephen Wallace has had really good conversions early on in the season. So Stephen Wallace sitting currently P8, tied for P7 with 95 points, but definitely not out of it. It's definitely with the drops, I think, going to make things a little bit kind of, it's kind of masking where the actual battles are in Pro. But, man, I am really digging the fact that we've got 7 points between P2 and P5 with Ryan, Jared, William, and Tanner all kind of like vying for the last 2 steps of the podium.
And, I mean, I also with those drop weeks, Stephen Wallace could also be in that podium contention, and it's definitely something to keep in mind. I have to agree with you that the drop rounds have not been taken into consideration yet, and that's really going to throw the points jumble and change the order around. A pretty decent margin is going to be my guess, especially with those who when and how their drop weeks affect.
So while we are on board with Gian Cardoso, we're going to go through the island curve, and that's what I was talking about before. Over on the outside, you skate off, hit the bumps, break the floor on your car through the shell hairpin. Now, blasting through. Now, here's where we were talking about before, Finn. So no Britain's chicane. So that means the speeds that these cars are going to be going at when they get to hill slop, it's going to be hard to get this car to stop.
Especially with these LMP3s that don't have ABS. So if you're not careful on that brakes, you apply too much, too long, and get those rears locked up or all 4, it is definitely going to be hard to keep it out of one of the sets of tire barriers that makes up that chicane there.
Indeed. So now going through Druids in the back section of Oulton Park on the way to Lodge Corner. This is another area where I expect to see people try to get brave and send it. With that incline on the inside, right before you go into Lodge Corner, might get to see some interesting passing opportunities here. And Gian Cardoso is going to clock in with a 25.520 for his first time lap. Let's jump around, Finn, and take a look and see what other people are doing out on track.
We have a bunch of first laps coming in. A very nice, tight breakdown and positioning of order, throwing all sorts of words out here, for the GT4 category as a whole, both both categories as they're making up the order. Pretty tight margins, especially between third and I think it looks like sixth. Tenths and hundredths of seconds at this point.
Yeah, and the thing is right now, GT4 I think is kind of hiding a little bit of pace right now, because we know that Stephen Wallace in practice was clocking in at the 35s right now. So we have yet to really see true potential, I think, in GT4 category around here. And we're actually logged in now with, I think, let me double check and see who that is. We are with Eduardo, now with Christopher Blue. We're going to lock in on Christopher Blue for a little bit and see where Christopher Blue, who's currently running in second in GT4, has yet to post a time right now. He's in the back section right now. Looking at the times, Ethan Hamlin in with a 24:06. Not quite into the 23s yet. Saw a 23:71 out of Ethan in practice.
Definitely got the pace there. Finding it on fresh tires on the quali laps may not be where, and especially as the LMP3s like to warm up, both when the tire gets up to temp and as your fuel load kind of gets into that nice zone, even though it kind of starts there with the fuel capacity limitations that this series has. It definitely is probably getting that last few tenths and pieces of time in warm tires at pace after you've been really settled into the car and it's ready. I think we'll see. I think we'll definitely see one more out of it in the race pace, I guess.
It'll be interesting. Jaden Ledbetter has yet to set a time right now, and he's got actually 2 laps down. So he's really got to get one punched in. Or he's going to get left to the back of the field. Taking a look at other times as they are coming in. Majority of the field's already set their timed laps. It looks like Ethan Hamlet's already out of the car. Chris Turner's out of the car, although Chris Turner actually has some more laps that he could technically post. But this guy right here, Jaden Ledbetter, on the verge of being left to the back if he can't quite convert here. Qualifying always goes so fast with that 3-lap shootout. It's like there's not enough time to like really cover everything. And Jaden does end up posting a time, does he? Yep, goes second fastest with the 24:50, so manages to sneak it out. Just gonna double check real quick. Actually, Eduardo Zamora gonna come across the line. What's he gonna post? Is he gonna improve his time or his position? Yes, jumps to P6 in the overall.
Very nice. And still,
and Steve Wallace last minute. Look at that.
There it is.
36-0.
I would imagine. Oh, yes. Absolutely imagine that first couple laps he did, getting settled into the car and just setting some bankers to at least have something on the board so he's not at the end of the grid.
Indeed.
Right.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I'm looking at the timesheet again. Scott Fleming also setting on 135.9. Top Stephen Wallace is 136.
Man, that is just... Yeah, for whatever reason, like, I don't know if it's because they post and then vanish, but I'm not able to like click and actually get onto the cars at all. Oh, it swapped me over to Scenic for some reason. There we go. Anthony Newman's going to come across the line. Anthony Newman leading the AM category. Does he have anything in store for Corey Lobner? And I don't think he does. Corey Lobner currently sitting P9 in GT4 category. He's done with a 36.74. Jared Jones in that tie in GT4 Pro in the Volt AMG. Let's see what he gets when he comes across the line. Is he going to improve? Yes, he's going to jump to 5th overall, right behind Ryan in the 6.4. So that battle, like I was saying before, P2 to P5, 7-point difference. I think that's going to be the interesting piece.
I think it's equally interesting that we find all 5 of the people essentially that we've looked at the top of this, the standings currently, all within, tenths of seconds between each other in terms of their qualifying runs.
Okay, so we still got a minute and 10 seconds, and guess who still has yet to post a time? We're at the Scenic camera, but Peter Hutchings in the 1:44 still has yet to even complete an outlap. So he has given himself one and only one shot. In fact, I don't even know if he's going to make it around before time elapses and the session just cuts.
He's got one. I don't know that he'll get all the way. He might squeeze it in with the 2 minute of rollover time, but it'll be really tight. We'll have to keep riding along with him and see how far he gets on the track.
Indeed.
So 30 seconds at the start of the lap.
Yep, so everybody, we're going to get another ride along. So getting ready to slide into turn 1. Let's see what he can do. Pushes out wide, doesn't invalidate his lap. Now he's going to head downhill now into turn 3. This one right here, this is where you can really overcook and send the car off track. Very dangerous. Now getting ready to set up for Islander. Through the island bend now into Shell Oil Corner. This curve, oh, there it goes. Yep, I knew he wasn't going to make it. I knew he wasn't going to make it, but I was hoping. I was hoping for him.
Yes, I was as well.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is going to be the qualifying setup. Let's see if we can get some of the results. Are they loaded in yet? Yes, they are. Let me get that set up for LMP3, and we'll switch over to results and take a peek. And there you have it. LMP3 results. Ethan Hamlet on top with that 23.980. Anyone shocked? I would be shocked to find anyone shocked by this development with Ethan on top with that 23.9. Half second on Jaden Ledbetter.
I feel like I've seen that gap closing over the past couple races between Jaden and Ethan, but it's still there. I think I'd be more shocked if I saw somebody else at the top of the boards other than Ethan at this point.
Yeah. Then it looks like right after that we've got Gabe Chavez and Chris Turner, P3, P4 in the overall, but top of the AM class with Sam Wilson in 6th. Sam Wilson actually had really good pace. He was rocking in at a 24.32 in free practice, and we didn't really see that kind of pace out of Gabe Chavez or Chris. So they kind of showed up and shocked the world a little bit with some extra pace there. So let's take a peek at Paul Miles down in 7th. He's going to try and see if he can pump in some quick ones and take the fight to Gene, because there's a buffer there with Sam Wilson in the fight, and Sam Wilson we know is fast in the AM category in LMP3. What are the qualifying standings are you focused on in LMP3?
At LMP3, I think I would have to agree with you on looking at both Milo and Gian Cardoso, and the fight that Milo's gonna have to work pretty hard pretty early on, at least to get up to him by the competition caution. And the two of them are gonna be probably, I want to say, pretty neck and neck over the course of this race. Maybe unless we talk about that attrition, we talk about that the difficulty with multi-class and passing may throw a wrench in one or both of their plans to kind of remain on the top of the AM leaderboards this week.
I think survival. I think survival and being patient in traffic is gonna. I think that is gonna be the story point that I'm looking for, to see if that really is a deciding factor in picking winners or losers. So, with almost a 7/10 difference between Gian Cardoso and Milo, like that's a significant pace difference. But again, it's Oulton Park, it's multi-class. You got to do traffic management. You got to keep it on the black stuff. So to your point, I think Milo's got to really kind of put pressure on Gian, while at the same time balancing the risk of not trying to push things too far and end up in a collision or off track.
Absolutely. I think it'll be definitely the not pushing too hard to end up not in the position to take the fight to Gian. That'll be crucial for Milo.
Yeah. And with go ahead, keep going.
Oh, apologize. And in terms of LMP3, I should say, I waited way too long. Apologies.
Oh, no. You're good. The other thing, too, to think about with that, especially when you think about the battle between Gabe Chavez and Chris Turner, or even seeing Sam Wilson or Paul Miles kind of like make the move. Whoa. Okay. All right. We got a random roll bar cam. All right. Let's go ahead and get back to TB3. Thanks. That was wild. Anyway, with the competition yellow and with the 60% fuel tank limit, like, we're going to have to see one extra stop for sure beyond the competition yellow for these guys. So how's that strategy going to play out? Especially when you're trying to manage the traffic. That'll be interesting to find out. Let's check out those GT4 runners, though, and take a peek. So over in your GT4 category, Scott Fleming Stephen Wilson, or excuse me, Stephen Wallace, leaving both of them leaving their laps at the last minute, with Stephen Wallace taking provisional pole and then Scott Fleming immediately turning around and snatching it away from him. That right there, I think, is a good indicator of the division between pro and amateur category. What do you think?
I definitely would have to agree there with the whole half second to the first M category driver on the GT4 qualifying results. And I think it'll really, back to we talk about it a lot, but I think it's also still very applicable here. A lot of these pro drivers, their overall experience in addition to the raw pace help them, I think, stay more consistent and on the track, and ends up letting them, that'll be a key factor too, is that consistency over the 90 minutes versus the AM category, which I think we'll see, I think, a little more off tracks from those guys as they get, more worn in and after the competition caution and kind of left to roam free. See more of that gap continue to build between the AM and pro categories.
Indeed. I'm going to take a quick peek back at the spreadsheet real fast because I'm taking a look at this. I think we got a pretty decent development in GT4 to talk about, especially when we're talking about the AM category. And I'm looking at P7 there. Mm-hmm. That's Brandon Potts. That's Wookie OH on Twitch TV. He's had some tough races, but coming in and punching it in 7th overall and top of the AM class in qualifying, that's got to be a good turnaround moment for Brandon Potts. So it looks like he might have been putting some work into Oulton Park, and I'm interested now to find out how that converts when we look at those race results when we get to the end of this 90-minute sprint race.
Definitely, and also it's got to be a good feeling at least to see how far you've come essentially when you look at where you've been earlier in the season and being able to top your class essentially of drivers there with a pretty good margin to Corey Lobner of about 0.2 of a second. But we're talking when the pro category has pretty much hundreds of a second between each of these individuals. It is probably got to be a good feeling to be up there on provisional pole class.
Indeed. One of the things we're going to have to pay attention to, I don't know if you saw that on the screen while we were looking at the results, but we have enough cars on this grid now that people are sharing pit boxes. So that's going to be very interesting when we get to the competition yellow to see how the field stacks up going to the pit boxes and whether or not those kinds of shenanigans cause anyone kind of trouble in the pit lane. So that'll be something to pay attention to. Pit stops around here at Oulton Park can get pretty spicy with that fast entrance on the right. They're going to be going into the rollover period before we actually hit the grid. Real quick before I jump to the grid lineup. Actually, no, I'm going to move to that right now. But any other things you want to add related to qualifying there, Finn, before we go take a look at the grid order?
I want to say that it's going to be a tight race regardless of how it shakes out, I think is the big overall feeling I have in both categories, LMP3 and GT4.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty wild. So there you have it, folks. The grid. We got Ethan Hamlet and Jaden Ledbetter on the front row, both Track Limits Racing drivers, and then we got Gabe Chavez and Chris Turner on row 2. It's going to be interesting to see if the AMs can do anything to pressure the front row a little bit, or are they going to be looking to put space between them and Sam Wilson and Milo, with Gian Cardoso, Sam Wilson, row 3, and we've got Milo and Dylan Sauer on row 4. Then we've got Mark Robeson, Zach Fisher. Mark Robeson back from missing at Suzuka. And then finally on the last row, we've got Joseph Savage and Pete Hutchings. Switching over to, can we get the other class? How do we get the other class? I actually don't know if I know how to do that. Oh, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
There they are.
Oh, hey.
So we got Stephen Wallace excuse me, we got Scott Fleming, Steve Wallace, front row of the grid, followed by Tommy Kogan. Tommy Kogan actually had a really good qualifying to leapfrog Ryan and get into P3. That's your row 2. Jared Jones and Tanner Schiffner locked in that battle, part of that P2 to P5 gaggle in the AM category. And then we got Brandon Potts and Eduardo Zamora on row 4 of the grid, followed by, oh, we are going green already. Wow. Let me go ahead and switch back over to the race info here. Apologies for that, folks. I didn't realize we had the abbreviated lap, but we'll get right into the action with Ethan Hamlet taking off. Looks like Jaden slotted in, and then we've got Gabe Chavez, Chris Turner, as we get ready to go into turn 3 for the first time, and now down the first straightaway towards Island Bend. Everything looking calm there. GT4s, looks like Scott Fleming got out in front of Steve Wallace at the start with Tommy Kogan and Brian locked in behind. Everything's looking okay. We do have a couple of wrecks in the background, it looks like. We'll go take a look at those here in a minute once this field gets kind of sorted. Oh, here we go. LMP3's going into the chicane for the first time. This is going to be calamity. Oh, and rear ends are already locking up.
Keep it on the black stuff, though. We're doing all right in terms of, well, it's about too soon.
Oh, we got an LMP3 that got kind of sorted to the back of the GT4 order now moving. That's Mark Robeson.
I believe he got spun. I think it was self-spun, but yeah, got a little off track. Or no, sorry, excuse me. Sorry from pit lane.
He was banking on a little bit of chaos, and there is a little bit of chaos happening. Some of the LMP3s struggling as we're watching back at the GT4s getting ready to go into Lodge Corner. Man, they are jockeying for position, man.
That they are. Fierce driving from all of the GT4 category, running 2x2 in some sections, and only kind of zippering back up when it's absolutely necessary to make sure they don't go off track or lose time to the fight with the rivals in front and behind them.
So it looks like the pole sitter is hanging on to the lead of their individual category after one lap. Let's go see if we can pull up some of the shenanigans that happened. Oh, and we got a spin right there. We might be covering that one a little bit later. Let's go over to that's Anthony Newman and Corey Lobner. Oh, both top contenders in AM category and GT4 involved in accidents. Let's go check out this moment when Dave Chimilio went off track. Oh, he just had like the slow spin and then went into the wall right before we go green. Nothing too dramatic there. This is what you were talking about before with Mark Robeson, although actually he just switched to... Yep. Oh, he just jumped straight to the pits. Didn't even get to see what happened there. Oh, no, you were saying...
he started. Yeah,
he started there. Ah, interesting. Yeah.
So we did see, I believe it was Chris Blue on lap 1 get spun by Sean Sullivan. I think it was
yeah, there it is. Yep.
Yes.
Into the wall, but that was a light brush. You can see he's got some rear damage, but he might be able to get that going straight again and get back to the field and be in good contention and make up some positions with the competition yellow. So that right there kind of sums up most of the chaos that we saw on lap number 1. We're gonna kick it back to live here in a sec and get back into the action. Stephen Wallace managed to find his way around Scott Fleming. I'm taking a look at I'm looking through the data to see what happened there. Tommy Kogan's jumped to the pits. That's unfortunate for Tommy. Don't see anybody out of the race yet, so that's good. People staying in for the points. Very good stuff. So we got a few laps under our belts. These laps come quick and come frequently. So what have you learned so far in these opening few laps, sir?
From the opening couple of laps, it's definitely seeing the like kind of the piece I was a little bit talking about beforehand, but the overall race pace of each of these drivers is becoming very clear. Um, Stephen Wallace obviously has jumped ahead of Scott Fleming, I think, pretty much from the beginning of lap 2 on, and was able to continue to build this nice 5-second gap he has. Scott Fleming is still trying to pull ahead of Jared Jones, but has less of it. But the fighting for most of these individuals, with I think the exception of Tommy Kogan, who unfortunately I think had an accident going into the Island Bend, along with the car in front of him at that time, which was Ryan Buchanan. Both of them, who we talked about as part of those 5 cars in GT4 Pro, and from the looks of it, it's a pretty nasty accident. So it'll be a recovery drive for both of these individuals as they get done with, as they get into the competition caution, are able to make up time. But I think it's down to Scott, Jared, and Stephen Wallace really duking it out for the top 3 positions on the podium this week, both in terms of individual race as well as overall standings.
Indeed. And you talked before about that lap 2. Let's go back and take a look and see how everything unfolded for Scott Fleming. He actually takes off track, and then that's the moment when Stephen Wallace found his way around. He gets back on track with minimal damage to his race, although now he is right there with Jared Jones. And I believe that is Tanner Schiffner and Eduardo Zamora in the background.
That it is.
But that is that's how the change for the lead in GT4 unfolded. Oh, Dave Chamilio, he's off track trying to rejoin safely. Oh, and goes off again. I wonder if he's having a technical difficulty.
I think he had some damage from an accident with Anthony Newman just prior.
Oh, interesting.
I saw the Anthony Newman having a crashed timing sheet marker come up, and I took a look, and David Chamilio was involved in that. Back at the Hislop and that chicane that we talked about being a big point of trouble at this point for a few of the GT4 drivers.
Yeah, this is your old school British GT track. I mean, it's not big. I mean, we're talking a whopping total of 2.7 miles, 4.3K if you're on the other side of the pond. And that's with the Britain chicane. We're not running the Britain chicane. The other thing, kind of a big deal. Actually, let's focus in on Gabe Chavez real quick. Let's go ahead or actually Gian's right here. Let's pick Gian. Hopping in the roll bar with Gian as we get ready to go in. Watching this action unfold. He's right on the gearbox of Milo. He's right there. So they're getting ready to go into the Shell Oil chicane. So exiting out of the chicane, they've already caught the GT4 traffic. Mid-pack and LMP3's already trying to focus their way around traffic. No Britain chicane. Now here's the thing. They're going to go downhill now with extra straight line speed going into one of the toughest braking zones on this circuit. And Gian's just going to chuck it up the inside. And Paul sticking with them. Wow. That's some intense racing.
That it certainly is. And just the knowledge, and I think that also the trust that your opponent isn't going to end up killing you is a huge piece of this field overall, as well as these 2 individual drivers. That really shows the kind of the ability to race their own, race the race and have an intense battle without killing each other. That I think is going to be a big, at least, sticking point in both of their minds, as Gian is still trying to make his way and make the pass back on Milo.
Yeah, I know they've exchanged positions a couple times here, and it looks like Dylan Sauer actually in the McDonald's LMP3 looming in the background. Although it looks like he's having a little bit of trouble keeping the rear end nailed down on corner entry. Like you were saying before during the start of the stream, these LMP3s don't have ABS, and rear brakes are kind of critical for getting these cars to stop in late braking situations. And now a gaggle of GT4 cars as these LMP3s are going to have to navigate their way through.
And this is one of those very tricky and it's almost dangerous sectors for LMP3s to be passing GT4s without consequence. And you can see that rear end step out for Dylan Sauer over there, still trying to keep that rear end planted. I saw a little bit of smoke come out of him when we watched them go through this chicane last lap. I'm wondering if there's a bit of the setup that isn't quite tuned to give him that downforce and traction he's looking for in the rears under corner entry.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough car to drive on the widest of tracks. And we've got one of the GT4s off track. Looks like that was Matt Pyle.
Yeah, and I think Dylan might have clipped him. Let me go look.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where the narrow nature of this track, patience is going to be, it's going to be a virtue around here. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump back into taking a look through the field. We got Zachary Fisher right now. It looks like he is trying to catch Mr. Peter Hutchings. LMP3s are kind of some of the closest action we've got right now, although actually we can jump back and take a look at Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan is catching up to Matt Pyle after that accident as they go into Shell Oil Hairpin. And then Matt Pyle not far behind from Logan Branson.
Yep, because of how Matt Pyle ended up getting spun, he seemed to be okay, but that puts him in this tight battle now between Sean and Logan. And I think he's definitely going to be able to pick up the position here again, but it'll definitely be a matter of patience and timing to get that overtake done correctly without killing him or the car in front or behind him if Sean Sullivan keeps up with them.
A quick correction for the folks at home. Made a mistake about Brandon Potts. That is Phoenix on Twitch. Phoenix TV. Go check him out. That's Brandon Potts in the 25. Logan Branson is Wookie OH on Twitch. Let's see where Logan is. Currently running 6th overall. Again, Logan, kind of another one of the streamers that has kind of had kind of rotten luck in the first few rounds, but currently 6th overall on GT4. So Logan also been putting in some practice. So definitely some good streams to go check it out. If you're part of the Discord, go check out the Share Your Stream channel and go give these guys a follow. It's good to see some of the Track Limits competitors streaming as well.
Always absolutely wonderful to share the love and kind of the community that's getting involved around these LMP3 and GT4 racing.
Yeah, so Logan Branson right now in the number 9, currently holding the cork in the bottle as they go into the Shell Oil Hairpin. Matt Pyle right behind. And we got some LMP3 traffic also trying to find their way around. This is getting, oh man, that right there was brave from Logan, but man, quick thinking. Who was that in the LMP3 that was in front of him?
That was Mark Branson, I believe. Or Robeson, sorry, Mark Robeson.
Mark Robeson in the 199, keeping it frosty and navigating that scenario. So big brave racing right there. And back to the battle in the AM Championship for LMP3, because I'm telling you, looking at timing scoring, I think you'd agree with me. This right here is the battle to watch, because we got GN and Dylan right now. We got less than a second between them, and it's getting heated. And it looks like Chris Turner is falling down the order. What happened with Chris?
I believe he bumped into a GT4, which then, as he goes over some curbing, that sends him just spinning off into the grass and hitting the tire barrier at the end of the second corner on the track. Denton's into Cascades, that nice winding left-hander that you're talking about overcooking. But if you were also off the track, it was just hard to keep it in place, and he was unable to do so.
Indeed. Let's see if we can take a look and see what happened here. Here's Chris Turner. Oh, man, he caught that curb on the inside, and that is just it. Like, there's nothing. Oh, not only that, he's stuck.
Yeah,
like
he gets it moving, but the wheels are all. There's a problem with the suspension, other things, and he ends up just getting it towed.
Oh yeah, the right
front
front is gone. So Chris
Yeah.
Turner, unfortunately, finding the wall, caught the inside curb, navigating his way around the GT4s. That's super unfortunate, but hopefully he can get repaired and get back into it. Back in this AM battle, man. Gian Cardoso, Milo the first.
Oh, there's an off track for Milo. I think it sets Gian up to do a pretty decent run into the turn 3 here.
Oh man, it is. The off tracks are going to be. I bet we're going to see a few DTs. We got 10 off tracks right now from one driver. I'm going to keep, just because we do have some streamers or some people that listen to the stream, I'm going to keep it a little bit secret. We got one driver sitting on 19 off tracks, and we're not even at the competition yellow yet.
Yep, I see that, and that is concerning, and especially given that I think drive-throughs will be a huge factor, and if one of them can keep it out of the drive-through and the other can keep it in or manage to get a drive-through, that'll be, I think, a big deciding factor for these two individuals in particular, as Gian Cardoso finally makes that move.
Yeah, he finally gets the move done. Camera swaps over to Logan Branson, though. Logan Branson still in front of Sean Sullivan. Matt Pyle did find his way around. Matt Pyle trying to recover some spots after spinning there at Lodge Corner earlier in the race, trying to get his recovery on as we are fast approaching. We are 4 minutes, T-minus 4 minutes from that competition yellow going out.
We are, and then that'll help get all those people who are a little bit out of the race for damage or one thing or another, get a couple spots back and get them back into their respective fights for class and Pro category battles that have been happening tonight. Should be interesting mix-up with the competition caution here in a little while.
Should be. And I am starting to pay attention to the battle between Gian and Paul, and it looks like that gap is starting to grow a little bit. Gian's starting to pull away a little bit and actually starting to catch up to, it looks like, Sam Wilson. Other stuff going on right now. Matt Pyle looks like he's starting to catch up. No, he's cutting into who is that?
Eduardo?
No, he's not cutting into Eduardo. Eduardo's setting 36s. I don't know what I'm seeing on the data. I'm losing my marbles. But
I would say.
But Matt Pyle currently sitting firmly in 6, pulling away from Branson a little bit. Just a little bit, though. We're talking about less than a tenth between them. And that's your fight for GT4. I suspect that we're in a position now that we're probably going to have this field stretched out like this until we hit the competition yellow.
That is, I think, going to be my guess as well, especially with how some of these races have gone. There's been a lot of some off tracks as well, some incidents that have really strung out the individual kind of pockets of racing. You know, we have Gian and Paul, but Gian's still 11 seconds behind Sam Wilson, while making up time by setting a faster, best lap as well as a faster overall laps over the past couple laps. It's still 10 seconds that he's got to make up, and so pockets here and there of racing. I'm guessing this will be maybe what we see towards the end of the race as well after the competition caution.
Oh yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how that that changes things up. One of my favorite things in endurance racing in general is competition cautions, if they have them, or just cautions in general for incidents, because it helps repack the field. Gives other drivers who have had rough starts such a good way to get back into their fights without really bogging down, at least in my opinion, the overall pace as things are moving.
Got some more GT4 action on screen. Logan Branson currently sitting in front of Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan trying to find his way around. Sean Sullivan got about, I want to say, 2/10 advantage on Logan, but can't. Again, the narrow nature of the circuit kind of catching him out in a way where he can't find his way around Logan, and Logan actually hanging with Matt Pyle. There is 3/10 advantage to Matt Pyle, but I think that the LMP3 traffic is in a way, it's kind of like, it's really kind of like neutralizing anyone with like really solid pace, and they're all kind of starting to clump together a little bit.
Definitely. I do see that Matt Pyle keeps setting consistently faster laps, so I'm guessing we'll see unless he runs into more traffic, which the rest of the field should be coming by because that was Ethan that slipped through this battle between those three GT4 cars. We'll probably see some more of it here as we are back on board with Milo, right?
We are back on board with Milo, and somebody who has yet to really get some significant screen time here, Mr. Peter Hutchings, in the 144, wasn't able to set the quali lap, but man, right now he is currently floating at 25.564, which is about a half second quicker than what Milo's putting in. So he is looming large in front of, or in Milo's rear view.
And I believe we have the start of the competition caution. I see that yellow flag has been thrown.
Yep.
And we're diving into the reset.
Yep. So with that, race leader is now locking down to competition caution pace. Looks like the safety car is already out on the field, already caught him. So Jaden timed that one perfectly, or actually that might have just been pure luck. And we're already seeing some GT4s flow around. Not sure if you're going to need to jump down in the admin channel, sir, but if you do, I'm just going to keep the field updated with kind of like where everybody is relative to track position. Actually, I need to pull up that track map.
Absolutely. I don't know that I will either, because it is currently looking like they have it all sorted, and I don't see anybody in the admin channel for me to hop down and help out with. So I'm going to stay put, I think, for the moment.
Fantastic. So we got the track map pulled up, and we're getting the field stacked back up in this competition yellow. If the waiver rounds happen relatively fast, then we might have ourselves the first round of probably what would be considered scheduled pit stops. So a lot of people have already taken unscheduled maintenance on the cars. So it is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Actually, we've got people that have already taken 2 pit stops. So it's going to be interesting to see how this, how this all shakes out. At the front of the GT4 field, Stephen Wallace in the 23. Currently in front of the field, Scott Fleming is going to be is going to have that gap neutralized to Steven. And hopefully when we go green, we're going to have ourselves a rematch of that front row lockout between these two. So it's going to be interesting. Jared Jones, Tanner Schiffner, Eduardo Zamora going to round out your top 5 in GT4. Just looking at the field right now, what sort of things are you keying on for the restart?
The restart, I think I'm keying on the point less than like hundredths of a second, 0.07, if I'm looking at the data correctly, between Scott Fleming and Stephen Wallace in terms of their fastest lap. And that, I think, shows that I think we'll have a much closer fight if Scott's able to keep it on the track like he did pretty much after his one-off track at the beginning of the race. It'll be definitely keeping Steven honest at the front of the field there. And only 0.2 of a second behind him is Jared Jones. I think it's going to be a very tight first few laps in the GT4 field for the top 3 podium sitters here after the restart.
So interestingly enough, call me crazy, but this looks like a field that is stacked up. Like it is kind of already locked in. I'm seeing some of the folks in the mid pack and towards the back of the GT4 pack starting to stack up. So I'm suspecting we're gonna. Yep, and I'm hearing whistles go off. It looks like the LMP3s are doing their thing, and that means that Chris Turner, one of the folks that did not. That had to take the pit early due to an accident, is going to stay out in the field, and he's going to inherit the lead of this race.
I think he is a lap down, so I think he will actually be back on the lead lap.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true. So it's going to get him a little bit closer to that action with Dylan Sauer, Mark Robeson, because I think both of them also ran some shenanigans. Mark Robeson actually going in for his second pit stop. His first accident was pretty early on in the race. So he might be trying to get back on pit stop cycle to see if he can kind of hang with the rest of the field when we go green.
I'm not sure if Mark had another off. I think he just started from pits, if trying to scroll through my timing sheet to make sure I'm not losing my mind. But I think he was just hanging out at the back after the. No, he had an off turn. Never mind. Anyway, I definitely agree that it's going to be give Chris a chance to battle both Dylan, Zachary, Mark, all the people in the bottom half of that LMP3 overall positioning for a better finish than the start to the race has been.
Indeed. So GT4s, looks like they're getting the wave around, and I believe with LMP3s going into the pits, I believe the GT4s are going to be cleared to take their pit stops as well. So that'll be interesting. So lapped GT4 cars getting the wave around. Already looks like Ethan's already back out, and he's intermingled with some of the GT4 traffic. But with GT4s getting the wave around and them taking their pit stops, I suspect we're going to see the field stack back up in true order after those pit stops.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The 17, so that is Anthony Newman, who got caught out early on in the race. He's going to be able to unlap himself. I believe Christopher Blue, William Lewis, maybe Tommy Cogan. Although Tommy Cogan actually locked in behind Chris right now. So Tommy had dramatic race, already having 2 pit stops, as does Ryan Joseph Savage. Who else? Saw that Mark Robeson took a pit stop. Again, I thought he was trying to get back on cycle.
I believe so. I don't think he had a whole lot of need for anything outside of fuel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think that's him getting back on pit cycle. I'm guessing we'll probably see the same for those who, for the GT4s this time around, when we get their pit cycle. For any of the ones who've had those accidents, like you're talking about, Anthony Newman, Tommy Cogan, all those who've had been back to their pit box before the competition caution, and we'll see them probably line up better with the rest of the field. Though, I almost wonder if it would be worth staying out, leaning on what you have, and then just doing a single pit stop if you're one of the people who got the pit stop done late by comparison to the competition caution.
Indeed. And with that, it looks like the LMP3 field stacking back up now. Although it looks like Ethan just passed Chris Turner. Not sure what happened there. Don't know if Chris is going to get another wave around or not, because Chris is a lap down. Let's look. Yeah, he's 15 laps in. The rest of the field's at 16. Hopefully they're going to... Yep, and there he goes. He gets the wave around. So he's got to zip through. He's going to actually be at the... Unfortunately, he's going to be at the back of the GT4 field, I think, by the time he gets around.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Because a lot of them are just getting done with their pit stops here in a moment.
Yeah, that's unfortunate timing. But hopefully he'll be able to move through the field quickly and...
you're getting a help.
Yep. So let's take a peek at the field. So Chris Turner getting that wave around. He's going to try and zip through the field. Ethan Hamlet right now currently holding the field at the safety car. Taking a look at the pit stops. We got some news, folks. Scott Fleming in the lead in the 37 of the GT4 field. He's locked in behind, I believe that is Pete Hutchings. Eduardo Zamora, fast pit stop from him, coming in second in GT4 category. And then Jared Jones. Stephen Wallace, 37 seconds, 37 and a half seconds stationary during his pit stop to drop him down to 4th in GT4 category. By comparison, Scott Fleming pumped in a 23 flat on the jacks. So not sure if that's a tire change that caught Steven out, although he might be taking a tire change now and then might keep the same tires for the final pit stop when we get ready to go racing. That'll be interesting to find out. It does look like William Lewis is getting another wave around. I suspect we'll get that wave around, and then probably we're looking at green flag conditions to get ready to go racing. Man, Eduardo Zamora jumping the field, currently up 6 spots on the day. Eduardo Zamora in the 228 BMW, one of the few BMWs in the field. Actually, I believe there are 3. No, actually, with Dave Chamilio joining us this week, there are actually 4. So BMW is starting to get a little bit more presence on the grid. Porsche's being far and away the most dominant. And to my knowledge, we don't have a Mach in the field this week. Kind of shocked about that one. So taking a peek right now. And, yep, LMP3s. Still locked behind safety car. Scott Fleming already getting the field, building a gap between himself and the LMP3s as we're getting close to that moment where we're going to go green. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for round number 4 of the Sports Car Series, brought to you by Track Limits Racing. I'm Whelpcakes. Fennicini will be back in the booth here in a minute as we're getting close, hopefully, to going green here. It looks like we will take one more lap around the track to finish her out. Interesting. So Chris Turner getting the wave around, and looks like he is now. Looks like he's now locked in. So we might be close. We might be real close to going racing again. I'm excited about that. So yeah, round number 4, Oulton Park. Currently, Ethan Hamlet shocking absolutely no one in the lead of LMP3 overall. Let's talk about LMP3 after the pit stops, because we covered those GT4 placings after the pit stop. So Ethan Hamlet, Jaden Ledbetter, Sam Wilson with 17.20 on the jacks jumps out to the front of the AM category. Milo the first pumping out at 17.35 on the pit stop to get the better of Gian Cardoso and put some space between himself and Peter Hutchings. Both Gian and Peter having hopefully that's not whatever that is. Let's go take a peek at that. Hopefully that's not anything too crazy. Seeing John Newman. Oh, we're seeing a little bit of a Constantina there. Yep. Car's braking. And then everything looks okay. Looks like it was just a little bit of a sudden braking. No big deal. We'll kick it back to live. But Sam Wilson, that's 17.20, putting him at the top of the AM category in LMP3 with Milo the first in second, Gian Cardoso in third. This is getting exciting. This is getting real exciting as we're getting close to that moment. Looks like Matt Pyle gets the wave around. We're just waiting to see the field. Is that Matt Pyle that got the wave around? No, that was Ryan. Ryan in the 6'4" getting the wave around, and he's had some tough luck this race. Both him and Tommy Cogan. Let my dog out real quick. He's starting to freak out. Be right back. Tommy Cogan getting the wave around. I think they were that far off the lead lap that I think they're getting the other wave around to try and get them at least on the same lap as everybody. 33 minutes, 37 seconds have elapsed in our 90-minute sprint race. We are getting geared up to go green here at Oulton Park for round 4 of the Sports Car Series. Want to do a quick check-in with everybody on stream. If you want to be a part of the action, as always, check us out on simgrid.com. Search the hosts for Track Limits Racing and be a part of Season 2 of the Sports Car Series. We've got round number 5 coming up. Long Beach, October 26th, 90-minute sprint around the streets of Long Beach. Probably one of the best circuits, in my opinion, for this particular combination of cars. And that's kind of where I got my first glimpse of Ethan Hamlet, who pulled a no stopper in one of the previous formats to actually take the win there at Long Beach. Kind of was a bit of a sleeper.
All right, I'm back.
Oh, hello, sir.
Sorry.
No. It's good. It's good. We're getting ready. Hopefully, we're getting ready to go green here in a minute.
Yep. This is our last lap. We are 1 to green. Everybody's been sorted out, so all of our GT4s are on the same lap. All of our LMP3s are on the same lap.
Fantastic. So that's going to be a nice showing there. I was talking to the folks at home while you were down in the admin channel, and AM category LMP3 got spicy after the pit stop. Sam Wilson jumped Milo to get into the front of the field. Well, Milo jumped Gian Cardoso and put some space between him and Pete Hutchings. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this race continues as we get ready to go green at the end of this final competition yellow lap. So I think some very interesting storylines. Man, fast pit stops. You know, talk about what was the determining factor here? Quick pit stops. Indeed.
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's a huge benefit because if you look at, in GT4 specifically, Stephen Wallace came in from the lead of the race, had a whole 15 seconds longer to Scott Fleming, and is now in fourth.
Yeah, that is a big difference. And to be perfectly honest, with 15-second pit stop, he's lucky he came out 3 spots back, as opposed to deeper. They're getting lined up 2 by 2 as we get to the hill slop chicane. Folks are trying to put temperature in those tires. 21 folks in chat watching round number 4 here at Oulton Park. So while you're gone, round 5's at Long Beach. 90 minutes at Long Beach on October 26th. I think that's going to be a banger of a show.
I can't agree more. I love Long Beach as a street circuit. And in machinery like this, I think it's going to be the ideal amount of road for each of these cars individually. Now, the multi-class is going to be the part that ends up being much kind of like this. Given the narrow nature and not a lot of runoff, definitely going to be a big factor, that multi-class impact on traffic in both categories here that we'll see at Long Beach.
Indeed. But the thing that I love about Long Beach is it is a battle-tested track when it comes to multi-class stuff. With all the IMSA competitions that you see there and stuff, it's definitely a street circuit that's seen multi-class probably to more of an intense degree than we see here at Oulton Park. And I'm just super stoked. Like I know Michelin Pilot Series is there, and iRacing as well. So I'm just stoked to see us back at Long Beach on that track.
I do as well. I'd be excited to be back there. Last time I think I was there was for IMSA during the endurance, as we're getting ready to go green.
Yep, and Ethan Hamlet doing what Ethan does, and moment pace car's out of his way, he's foot to the floor, and he's taking it into turn 1. See that bump right there? Man, he almost lost it right there. The LMP3s have such a time of it. GT4 cars, not really much different, even though they've got a way more forgiving suspension. And Scott Fleming's going to take turn 1 as the GT4s are now underway. And we are back to green here at round 4. We have a sideways LMP3 on track, and Pete Hutchings takes it to the pits right before the GT4s arrive on scene. That is unfortunate. Is that Hutchings? I think that's Hutchings. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
that is Peter Hutch.
That is crazy. Let's focus in. Go ahead.
I would say a pretty big incident between him and a few other drivers there on lap 1 in LMP3 category.
So through the hill slot chicane and through K-Brook, first time through, LMP3s are really moving around for position as the GT4 field approaches hill slot for the first time. Jumping back at this battle between Logan Branson and now Corey Lobner behind. Corey Lobner getting a breath of fresh air in his race as he's actually kind of back in the mix to get inside that top 5. Oh, it looks like we've got a car off track. Got the 18 of John Newman on the exit of K-Brook. and that is not the scenario he wanted for his race.
Absolutely not.
Let's hop
Been
back.
watching.
Go ahead.
I was saying, I've been watching a couple of the replays, seeing what's going on. Definitely a pretty big wreck between Peter, Gian Cardoso, and Dylan Sauer, all wrapped up in the lap one. Let's say lap one, but the restart craziness for the LMP3 field, on top of a couple individuals having a rough lap one or restart in the GT4 category, and those people are included Jared Jones, who is out of the pit box after taking it back there.
Indeed. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened there with the LMP3s. Oh, we catch a little bit of the action, as I believe that was Gian, and on the grass, and then, oh man, just swept back across track. I think, unfortunately, I think Hutch was just trying to save it, and that was it for that. That is super unfortunate.
It is really unfortunate for both of them. I think the two of them just got caught into contact and spun Gian on accident in the process, and then trying to recover his own race, put too much input in there, and then went flying as the car did another bounce and lost any kind of grip, what little grip it can find on this grass.
That is the thing about this track in particular. Off track, the grass. I mean, iRacing. It's usually very dangerous in and of itself, but the bumps here at Oulton Park, especially on a skateboard like the LMP3, it's not a forgiving car, and I think we kind of saw that there with Hutch being just left wheels off track, and then it just threw him all over to the right side of the track, and he collected Dylan Sauer. He's just trying to save it. But, I mean, I don't fault him for it. I probably would have done the same thing.
I absolutely would have been in a similar position, I think, if I was Pete Hutch. I'd probably also equally, kicking myself for, spinning somebody else at the beginning of all this. But either way, it'd be a good recovery drive for both him and Gian as we get underway here. Pretty nice battle for P2, though, it looks like. Well, not as nice, but close margins between Sam Wilson and Jaden Ledbetter there, the bottom two steps of the podium.
Yeah, let's actually follow on board with Sam Wilson as he gets ready to go into turn one and start a lap here through Old Hall down the avenue, and then approaching fast left-hander here at Cascade. This is what we were talking about before, where Chris Turner actually had his accident. A quick straightaway here to Island Bend.
As you were mentioning at the beginning of this, being careful not to go too far out, so you actually skip the car over that bump there, and you could be sliding all over the place trying to go into that hairpin.
Indeed. So out of the Shell Oil corner, getting ready to go into hill slop on the brakes. This is what we were talking about before. This corner in particular, especially for the LMP3, is so treacherous with the likelihood of brake locking, especially when you've got so much load on the front. You get those rears unloaded, and it's really easy to whip the rear end of the car around. Getting ready to go through Deer Lodge, through Lodge Corner. Oh, some GT4s. Oh, that was Druids, and then now he's getting set up for Lodge. See, the thing is about the right-handers here is that there's so many of them that are almost 90. You kind of get confused where you are on circuit.
Absolutely. Once you get past Hillstops, it's just there's two 90s that look almost exactly the same. They are taken pretty similar in terms of the way you approach them and how you execute the corner for the fastest time. There's slight subtleties in terms of how much brake you're applying, what gear you're going to end up in at the apex to power yourself out to the two kind of short straights that make up that last straight before the start-finish line, and then that start-finish line straight.
Indeed. Something we kind of missed here, Stephen Wallace. He is back in second place, getting around a gaggle of cars as he started the race in fourth, and I think got shuffled back to fifth for a brief moment, but he's back in it now. Let's take a peek. I'm just kind of curious if we take a look at those lap time histories for Stephen Wallace. Let's see if we can see what we got going here. Yeah, Wallace, not really. I mean, he's struggling for pace occasionally with Fleming. Definitely had a more dramatic lap 19, but he's hanging there. He's being pretty consistent, but he is starting to pull away from Eduardo with small margins. But he's making it happen. So I think I'm going to put a pin in this one between Scott and Steven and see where the field is at once we get to the next scheduled pit stop for these two, because I think Steven's going to want to try and hit his marks as cleanly as possible and get back in this fight with Scott Fleming.
Definitely think it'll be the thing that either helps or hinders Wallace's attempt to get back on that top step of the podium. If he stays consistent, looks like he's chipping a little bit of time, a little bit of time here and there. But what would really help him is another good pit stop to really set himself, get that undercut or that overcut, and end up in ahead of Scott, even in the pit cycle, rather than trying to pass him on track and slowing both of them down in the process.
Ethan Hamlet is taking it as cautiously as he can, navigating through the GT4s as he comes out of Hillslop and then through K Brook, and that traffic he's navigating through is actually kind of keeping Jaden Ledbetter kind of in this. This is kind of to the point where the margin is small enough that just like one little oopsie and suddenly the win streak could be on the line here.
It certainly could be, especially if either he's not lets up for a moment or a GT4 has a lapse of judgment. Definitely could be a very interesting result if Ethan ends up having a off track of sorts. But at the same time, he also set the fastest lap 2 laps ago with a 1:23.996.
Yeah.
So he's still finding pace, and we're hitting those 23s that we were talking about at the start of this during qualifying.
Indeed, it is very much Ethan in the driver's seat, getting inside some clear air. He's going to start setting those crazy lap times that we're used to seeing. Talking about crazy lap times, Stephen Wallace had his fastest lap was a 33.9. His last lap was a 36.0. Scott Fleming's last lap was a 36.7. That gap is starting to come down. So all the trouble that he was having at the restart seems to be in the rear view for Stephen Wallace, so to speak, and he's starting to take that fight. It's now down to barely 9/10.
Yeah, barely 9/10, and like we talked about with those laps, just keeping the consistency there. It seemed to really pay off for Stephen going into this kind of second half of, or getting the second half of the overall 90 minutes.
I want to talk about this one. We saw a very dramatic start to this race for this man right here, Chris Turner of New World Sim Racing in the 950. At this very corner, catching that inside curb and then finding the wall right before the entry to Cascades. Chris Turner, after the competition yellow, getting the wave around, going to the back of the LMP3 field, and now is in 4th overall. He's 2nd in AM.
He seems to be pretty quickly closing on Sam Wilson, who has finally lost that kind of close margin that he had to Jaden. But the lap times are pretty similar, especially in the traffic. They aren't only a few tenths between the two of them.
This is crazy. And not to shortchange the GT4s and give them some dashboard love, Stephen Wallace here is making Scott Fleming big in picture. So it is definitely something for us to watch as we go through the back section of Oulton Park on the way to closing this lap out at Old Hall Corner. So, at Lodge Corner.
LMP3 traffic going to also play a factor in this for both of them. Looks like it caught Stephen Wallace a little bit worse than it did Scott Fleming this lap, given another 10th back to him. Definitely Scott's starting to probably sweat a little bit up there, seeing that relative continue to slowly be chipped away. as Steven continues to kind of be consistent with his pace.
This is something. This is definitely something to watch here. I am looking at. I am following along with the greatest interest in the off-track count, and I'll give the audience a small hint. A small hint. There's somebody who's very much in contention of winning their particular class and category right now that is sitting on 10 off tracks. So a DT is very much in the books for somebody who's definitely got real stakes in this race.
And if they hit that drive-through penalty, I think that'll be pretty detrimental to their overall finishing. Regardless of how much it really depends on when it occurs, depending on how much more initiative they take in that regard of getting the off tracks.
Yeah. Well, we are about to hit the. We're about I'd say 9.5 minutes away from hitting the final stage of this race, and as we get closer and closer to the end. It is definitely gonna raise the stakes. Wow, that LMP3 just zoomed past Scott Fleming. I believe that was Mark Robeson. Just the pace difference between these two cars at the best of tracks is already eye-popping. But to see the closing speed as they go into some of these higher speed corners with the low downforce or with the higher downforce on LMP3s it's just terrifying. I don't know how the GT4s are doing it. Oh, man. Logan is almost catches. Zachary Fisher almost joins Logan Branson in the back seat. And Zachary trying to navigate GT4 traffic as best he can.
It's always a give and take with multi-class traffic between the faster classes, in this case the LMP3, with that added downforce. A lot of the medium to high speed corners, you can get a lot more speed both into and out of the corner. So it's always really dangerous, especially when you want to pull out and do these intense maneuvers like Dylan Sauer's trying to do here on GT4s. Really got to be careful that you don't overshoot your brake markers, you don't lock up the tires, and end up turning yourself into a wrecking ball that just also takes out the GT4 you're trying to make a move on.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little nugget out here. In terms of actual pit stop time, doesn't look like it's anything to write home about unless we're talking tires in the GT4 category. And I'm talking about the big brain play. Is this a big brain play from Jared Jones? We're going to have to wait and find out. Taking his pit stop with, less than 38 minutes left in this race. Is the massive undercut going to work out to Jared Jones' advantage?
I don't think so, because I think Jared Jones ends up a lap down due to the restart catching him out. So I think it may help him get some time back to both William Lewis and John Newman, who are both on the same lap as him, and he's about 26 seconds behind. But I don't know if it's going to give him a whole lot of time back in the overall position.
Interesting. That'll be interesting to find out, because it has been, I believe, it's been 4 laps since William Lewis pitted. But it has been, I believe that is 12 laps since John Newman did. So he's going to definitely possibly be in play. I wonder also if Corey Lobner might be under threat from Jared Jones. We'll see. We'll see as things continue to develop. Gian Cardoso right now trying to stay out in front of Pete Hutchings. Both of these guys have had some serious bad luck in round number 4. But they're sticking with it because there's still points on offer. There's still plenty of points on offer.
That is very true. And if they end up having a even rougher week down the line, this could turn into a nice drop week for them and points they don't have to worry about.
Indeed. We're going to look at this fight as actually Ryan's going to dive into the pits. So we got our early pit stop takers doing their thing. But meanwhile, Scott Fleming. He's got a fight on his hands.
He certainly does. That rearview mirror is probably now filled with the lovely symbol that Mercedes-Benz behind him. Same make and model of cars between these two, so it'll be very much down to the driver and the setup to what the two of them will have in terms of pace differential, which realistically is very small. Stephen Wallace still considered setting anywhere from 137s to the 135.9, that is his fastest lap, and the 136.8 is the fastest lap of Scott, but they're setting, they're within hundredths of a second of each other right now in terms of the overall lap time between the two of them. So it'll be tight, and I think that pit stop window, like you were talking about, will be a big factor in where these two come out for the last stint of the race.
I'm gonna play hypothetical for a moment. That looks like that could be. Oh, was that contact? That was super close. That was super close. You could not fit a sheet of paper between them as they went into Lodge Corner to finish out the lap. Boy, I bet Steven might need a change of clothes after this one. But let's play hypothetical here. Let's say this battle in particular stays the way that it is to the end of the race. If I'm Steven Wilson, I'm going to be kicking myself hard for that 15 seconds that I dropped in the pit stop during competition yellow. Like this is a race where he could be in front by a healthy margin, and he gets the move done in the Shell Oil hairpin, but Scott sticking to him, and now he's got the draft on the longest stretch of this track. We got ourselves a fight. Taking the outside. Oh, no, they touch. Oh, but I think that Scott Fleming came off worse for that one. That is unfortunate. The front end of his car clips the wall. And Stephen Wallace is back on track. Scott Fleming does manage to get out in front of him, and that is not how either one of them probably wanted that to go down. The front end on that AMG is gone, and it does look like the front end is being squirrely with Scott Fleming.
It definitely looks like that the tires that hit the grass just get loose and knock the two of them into each other.
Yeah.
For Scott, when I'm looking back at the replay here, and really frustrating, I think, on both sides of that fence, where either way, it's not how you want that, that overtake or that re-overtake. And this close battle at the start, height to the top of the field, comes down to, one mistake for Scott Fleming, leading to both of them being further down the order than they would have liked.
Indeed. And just like that, Eduardo Zamora in the 228. We didn't see him last week, if I remember correctly, if I'm remembering the results. Showing back up in the 228 BMW M4 and finds himself in the lead of GT4. Got a 6-second gap to Sean Sullivan. If I'm Eduardo Zamora, I am head down, putting in the most consistent show I can put on at a track like this. Because now Stephen Wallace, Scott Fleming, those two are on the back foot. They've got to make up the time that they just lost relative to Eduardo Zamora. So that's going to be interesting. So if I'm Eduardo Zamora, I'm hitting my marks from here on out. No mistakes.
You would have to be. This is, where all the practice and effort that Eduardo has been putting in will have to show itself. And if it's, everything he needs it to be, it'll be, you are as good as you practice. So.
Man, so Chris Turner has dropped down to 5th overall, and I don't see extra pit stops in for anyone yet. I do see a second pit stop for Gabe Chavez, who is currently in 3rd, 2nd in the AM category. Sam Wilson in 2nd. It is interesting. Chris Turner trying to hang with Jaden, and he's 3/10 back. GT4 traffic looming in the foreground. I think this position's still on offer.
I would have to agree, though. If Jaden plays the traffic right, it'll be definitely one hard one for Chris to make up and get past Jaden.
This is definitely turning into a spicier Oulton than I think anybody at home was expecting. I guess the nature of this course, especially with that chicane missing, man, it really mixes stuff up when they get to that hill slop chicane. It's a wild ride. Let's check in with Milo, leading the AM category, trying to run away from Mark Robeson, navigating the GT4 traffic. Milo still has yet to take another scheduled pit stop. Looks like Stephen Wallace is in the pits. So Stephen Wallace is in the pits. Oh, man, he's actually been on jacks for a minute. Did he not do a fast repair?
I don't think
he is
did.
falling like a stone down the order. Scott Fleming with the fast repair pit stop on the jacks for 37.7, and he's back out currently 8th overall. And he's still in it. So, interestingly enough, drama hits Stephen Wallace on his pit stop.
I wonder, I'm trying to remember, the league here has 2 fast repairs, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep. And
So
Stephen
I'm
Wallace only
wondering-
has 2 pit stops. So,
That's what I'm wondering, if he unchecked his fast repair, or how, what the play is here at this point, being this far down the order, or is it a case of throwing in the towel for Steven with the frustration of that incident earlier weighing on him?
well, he's back out on track, 16th in the overall with 2 pit stops down. So he's going to have to put in some work. He's actually a lap down now for the race leader. So that 2-minute 11-second pit stop cost him dearly. Now with the GT4 is a wide field for us. We've got a lot of competitors in here. I believe we've got 17 on track for this round. There's a good mixture of pro and AM. So if Stephen Wallace can keep his head down and just get it across the line, there's still points on offer. He's still got drop rounds to deal with. It's definitely not out of it. But man, Scott Fleming getting dealt quite the tailwind that is going to push him on in this championship with if he can convert this 8th place finish in the overall. I believe that is going to be 3rd in pro, depending on how the pit stops shake out.
Yeah, I would say depending on the pit stop shakeout, that'll be 3rd. I think that'll still keep him a pretty healthy margin to be at or near the top. If Tanner continues to keep his position, I think we'll see him jump up the order in the overall standings. A pretty healthy margin. He's currently in 5th. We talked about the tight grouping from 2nd to 5th, really, in the GT4 Pro category. So if he's able to keep that consistent, he will be able to really net some points to bump him up the order and allow himself some breathing room with those drop weeks if he needs it in the future.
Oh, looks like we had somebody overcook it. That was Peter Hutch overcooking it with the race leader of GT4 right beside him. Looks like Stephen Wallace is out of the race, as he reported in chat. That's unfortunate. F some chat for Stephen. Bummer, but it's still got the drop rounds. Still got 95 points, if I remember correctly, on the books. So there's still more to play for in the remaining rounds, as we got round 5 Long Beach coming back. That's going to be a real ding dong battle. So I'm looking forward to seeing Stephen back with us on October 26th here on Track Limits Racing. So give us a follow and make sure you've got your notifications checked, so you'll be able to be a part of the action when when we go live in round 5. Eduardo Zamora coming in the pits right now. He's going to get passed up by a couple cars. But right now, more than anything, I'm looking at Eduardo in relation to Scott Fleming. Because Scott Fleming's trying to recover and get as many points as possible. Because every point's going to matter inside this championship. He's actually coming around right now. Eduardo Zamora is still on Jax. Oh, no, he's not on Jax. He's actually on outlap. He might actually come out in front of Scott. I believe he does. There he is in the background. So Eduardo Zamora going to hang on to the lead of this race, and he's going to make that M4 an M12 because he's going to definitely need that girthy ride to try and keep Scott Fleming behind. But and Ethan Hamlet, so the race leaders meeting at the Island Bend, and we got ourselves a race underway. Just taking another quick look through the field right now, looking for other real fast races or close races going on. Ryan and William Lewis duking it out, and they're right behind. They're basically trying to find their way around Logan Branson. Logan's having a pretty clean race right now. Going to look at a 9th overall finish. And I believe, let's take a peek. Got maybe 4th in AM if he can finish in this order. So good points on haul for Logan if he can convert this. He's got to keep William Lewis behind him though.
That he does, as well as a few others that seem to be kind of in the same ballpark of pace overall. The ones that have set faster individual laps. Anthony Newman, I think, is one of those individuals at this point who, if he sets, keeps up the pace, it might be a close one. I don't know that it'll be a whole ton of points difference, but talking about keeping William Lewis behind him, and I don't know that he is. But looks like we're with Corey Lobner.
And Corey back in this race after a very dramatic opening stint here at round 4, and currently sitting 3rd in the overall, 2nd in the AM category, and he has yet to pull his 2nd scheduled pit stop. But I think more than anything, he's trying to hang out in front of Brandon Potts once the pit stops happen. $20 on Sully. Where is Mr. Sullivan at? Sullivan right now in the 66, currently in the lead of this race, but still has to pull a scheduled pit stop. But hanging out in front of Tanner Schiffner, and he's going to dive in. So is Tanner. They're both going to have to throw the anchors on and hopefully don't come into contact right before they hit that cone. And Tanner's immediately heading to the box. Kind of angled funny. That's going to be an interesting exit for him. So
only taking fuel for Tanner. Looks like a set of tires. I wonder if they're doing the one axle strategy that a lot of GT4s seem to have been employing this time around in the championship. A few more people making their pit stop as we are getting down to the last half hour or so, a little under that here at the race.
So Eduardo back around. Scott Fleming gonna come across in 2nd. Both Sean Sullivan and Tanner Schiffner out. Sean Sullivan, Tanner Schiffner, nose to tail as they exit. And somebody we have not seen a lot of in this race is suddenly in 5th overall. So Tommy Kogan had an absolute nightmare of a start to this race. And to be back inside the top 5 for Tommy, that's got to feel great. And and as far as, I'm not sure. So his last pit stop actually was on lap 30. So I think he's good to the end with less than 22 minutes left in this race. So I think Tommy looks like the sun might have come out for the 55. So we're gonna see if how this all shakes out. Taking a look at. Go ahead, sir.
I was like, good. Close margin to Tanner. Both these people are fighting for like almost, 2 more people that are in close contention with each other in terms of the GT4 Pro standings. So it should be interesting to see. I think we saw Sullivan end up.
Did he get tangled with Hutch there? Like what happened there? Let's see if we can figure. Yeah, let's see if we can go back and take a peek at what happened here. Going in. Oh, he loses the back end, and Hutch had nowhere to go other than to T-bone him. Now, he managed to just take a little bit of side impact and just brush the front nose against the tire barriers. So Sullivan is not out of it in terms of scoring some good points, but now he slots in behind Ryan in the 6'4", so drops down to 7th in overall. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is still 2nd in AM category. So Sean Sullivan's still in it for some good points, and actually really not that far off Brandon Potts. So we could definitely see a race here to the end in the AM category.
Scott Fleming still keeping a pretty close margin. We were talking about the that battle there for the lead. And I think it's still probably going to go in the favor of Scott based on the timing sheets, especially as the draft coming here, then the nice long straight. Where are we at with checking in with William Lewis, it looks like?
Yeah, William Lewis. William Lewis right now currently in 4th, actually tied for 3rd in pro category. Currently stuck behind. He still shows his AM on the overlay, but from the spreadsheet, currently tied for 3rd with Jared Jones and stuck behind Logan Branson. Logan doing a really good job holding off William Lewis in this race.
Absolutely. It's been a pretty amazing drive from Logan here in Oulton Park. Consistent pacing, finding his line, sticking to his rhythm. Seems to be really paying off for him. And, holding William Lewis as well as Christopher Blue, both behind him in category, will net him some really good points.
Oh, and here we go. We got ourselves a fight. Eduardo Zamora does find his way back around Scott Fleming as they go through. Oh, man, they almost came together right there. Scott Fleming is going to have the inside line as we go into turn 1. And there is Matt Pyle, I believe, in the background. Lap down to these guys. So Scott Fleming jumps out to the front. We're still in the replay. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's jump back to live. That said, it does look like the field is basically where we were right before we jump back. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you a bunch. Tommy Cogan, again, like we were saying before, up to 4th now, so does find his way around Brandon Potts, but they're not in the same class. So with Tommy chasing down Tanner and looking at the relative pace between these two, it does look like we're dealing with advantage Cogan as we get into the closing stages of this race. Less than 18 minutes left in round 4. Let's take another peek. Actually, what do we got here in the field? So Scott Fleming, he's around Eduardo, and he's starting to build that gap, and it's growing pretty quick. But between Ryan and Brandon and Tommy and Tanner, I think we've got our closest battles going on right now in GT4. But one we probably need to pay attention to a little bit. Gabe Chavez, he's getting chased down by Jaden Ledbetter, who's driving that LMP3 like a scalded dog.
Making the most of what is left of this race and trying to get back onto the podium for Jaden. Realistically, just setting these absolutely blazing laps, but there's only 0.05 hundredths, five hundredths of a second between the two of them in terms of their fastest lap pace. So seeing that race pace between the two of them will be, interesting to see, and it goes down to that consistency between categories and what the difference there will be.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know if you saw that going into K-Brook, but it does look like, and I'm going to take a look. I want to see Gabe's pit stop was stationary for 19.9. He's laying down rubber on every corner exit. I'm thinking this dude's on a used set. I don't think he did a swap. Because I'm just like looking at his lap times, and he did manage to get back into the 24s this go round, but he does look like he is wrestling that car around track, and it does look like Jaden is closing.
I definitely would agree. I think based on that rubber difference, as well as I think from what I saw of Jaden's time being a 19.6, according to my timing sheet. I don't think either of them have new tires, but I'm thinking Jaden probably has managed his over the course of this race a little bit better, which is resulting in that pace difference we're seeing now.
So on board with Jaden Ledbetter in the number 3 as they go over hilltop into the chicane. And boy, closes in. And then through K-Brook. This is where I was seeing the rear end start to kind of like give out on Gabe a little bit. But he seems to have either through like taking a couple of like really slow laps to try to get the temperatures back in a solid window and really get a little bit of grip out of the rear. So he seems to be keeping it. But you can see it right there. You saw it. I don't know if you saw it or not, but the rear left was laying down rubber. So traction control definitely not in these cars, and you can light the rear up. And man, he goes wide on the exit of turn 1. I think this car is. I think. Oh man, it definitely looks like he's driving a sailboat right now. It is definitely something exciting to watch here. But let's go get some GT4 action here. We got Ryan in the 6.4, 6th overall, currently sitting 5th in pro, trying to find his way around Brandon Potts, Phoenix ES on Twitch TV, currently sitting in 1st in the AM category. Brandon really having himself a good race, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it does look like in the AM category, Sean Sullivan had that moment. Brandon Potts gets the lead, and now he's trying to make hay while the sun shines. But it's going to be tough because Ryan's got pace on him, looks like.
Absolutely. And turning that in, being consistent is going to be the thing that's going to net Ryan that spot ahead of Brandon here in the closing stages. Taking a quick look at my notes here, I think Eduardo is back in AM from pro. So Eduardo, I think, is currently leading the AM category, at least from what I'm seeing, both on the overall sheets as well as my timing screen.
Oh my goodness, that was a moment. Hats off to those 3, and I do mean 3, an LMP3 and 2 GT4s going side by side on corner entry into the Hislop chicane. And it does look like with that, Ryan finds his way around Brandon Potts, and now Sean Sullivan. Somebody in chat was putting 20 down on Sully. Well, that might have been a safe bet because Sullivan is right there. We got less than 3 minutes left. And he's on it. And he's going to have to work quick if he's going to be trying to take the spot from Brandon. Not a whole lot of race left to try to make a move and, continue to keep that gap increasing after the move as they make their way down to Cascades here. And there goes. Oh, wow. Brandon Potts loses the rear end at Cascades.
That is the second time I think I've seen him lose the rear end at Cascades. I think the first time was involved in a bit of a bumper touch that caused him to begin the spin. This time I think it was out of his own volition, trying to avoid traffic.
It's one of the features of Oulton Park in particular. You got high speed and low speed braking zones that are happening downhill. Very easy for the rear end to get unloaded. And for you to lock up the rear tires. So you got to be cognizant at all times, even in your ABS cars, that rear end lockups are absolutely possible.
The ABS system helps it unlock. It does not prevent it from locking to begin with.
Yep.
So absolutely something that you got to be cognizant of, because as soon as they start locking, you'll start sliding, and then at that point you're becoming a passenger on whatever ride you're being taken on.
Mr. Milo the first in the 81 at Shell Oil Hairpin, and he is trying to stay out in front of Mark Robeson. Mark Robeson Doesn't really have much on pace relative to Milo if last lap's an indicator. It is. I think he's going to be aiming for pumping out the fastest laps he can to try and see if he can catch back up to Milo first. Let's take a look. So now here we go. We got ourselves a real tight fight in AM. Christopher Blue has been putting in some really good results in the Falcon M4. But this race has been probably one that could make the most difference in his championship right now in terms of points gained, because if Eduardo's in AM, that means looks like he's got a shot at a second place finish in AM category, which would be a good points haul for Christopher Blue.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Sean Sullivan right in front of him too.
Yep.
So it'll be good.
Oh yeah, third place finish. Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
but it's still a good place, good finish
Mhm.
in category, and definitely something he'll want to keep, that momentum to bring himself, because he's where he is, and then where Anthony Newman is, about 3 seconds behind him. It looks like on the relative. You might see the two flip flop in where they are on the overall category finish and their current standings between as we go into Long Beach in a couple weekends time.
Indeed, and Anthony Newman has had kind of a tough couple rounds with from what it looks like he didn't really have that awesome of a finish at Suzuka, but haven't seen a lot of Anthony this round, but he's trying to hang with it, trying to come home with as many points as he can.
If I remember correctly, Suzuka was really unkind to him after the restart of the race, and he was unable to really recover from there. And here, I think it's just been a struggle to find, I think, the last bits of pace to really put him at the top of the leaderboard in the AM category. And he's been running pretty consistent, it looks like, outside of that.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, it was unkind for him at Suzuka, but I mean, he did come away. Now I think of it, he did come away with a third place finish, I believe, at Suzuka in category. So I mean, he's still hanging in there. He's still farming some really good points and keeping his championship hopes alive here. And he's actually starting to catch up to Logan Branson. So for him, trying to clear Logan is mission critical for keeping those dreams alive.
Keeping himself out in front of where Christopher Blue is in terms of the overall standings, and in between all of them, and I think this will also be an interesting one to see where he ends up amongst the top three in the GT4 AM category. Sean Sullivan, a fantastic drive from him overall, and want to see if that will bump him up a position or maybe two. I don't think it's quite as likely given the 20-ish point, or a little under 20, excuse me, point difference between the P1 Anthony Newman, P3 Sean Sullivan, but in terms of the overall category.
But we gotta take a quick break from talking about the standings for a minute, because we missed something. We missed something pretty big. Something pretty big. Let's see. No, that's fine. That is Scott Fleming and no rear end. So Scott Fleming having a bit of a moment, and I'm not really sure. Let's actually go back. Let's go back a little bit. Can we get back further than that? Where did he go off track? Is this
He went off track.
Oh, at Cascades.
Yep, there it is. Yep.
Man, he touched the grass and he was gone, and just accelerated into the wall. Rear end's gone on the AMG, and just like that, wow, that is a huge development. And with that, Eduardo Zamora back in the overall lead of GT4 with Tanner Schiffner, Tommy Kogan rounding out the overall podium. And just like that, the points battle in GT4, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It is,
all the things we talked about at the beginning of this race have just been thrown out the window. It feels like we're writing a whole new. Here's what we think will happen, and I definitely have to agree. This race has developed wildly out of the expectations I had going into it, and in some of the best ways, some of the worst ways. Scott, I think, has found himself caught out twice now by putting too much tire too close to the curbing after the curbing ends. Because we saw that same kind of similar incident happen for him going into the chicane, the Hislop chicane, where he ran into Stephen Wallace in that first incident in between the two of them for the lead of the race. So,
Indeed.
It's something to probably look at in the kind of the after action, trying to figure out what to do better between races. It's Jared Jones I saw in the inside.
Man, he has had an absolute torrid time here at Oulton Park. He has absolutely had a rough one.
Getting caught out by that bump on the outside of the island bend, it looks like. Keeps it out of the wall. Through quick driving. But man, yeah, been a very rough race for him. I think after the restart really started the kind of downhill trend. It really doesn't seem to be picking back up for him very much.
So Jaden Ledbetter chasing down Sam Wilson, who's not even in his class, currently less than a half second between them. But I guess he just wants that second overall. But he's got to play it smart, because you're not fighting this dude. You're not fighting this dude for points, or who knows? So it's going to be interesting. And there goes Milo, and Milo's putting a gap between him and Mark Robeson. But Tommy in the 55, if Tommy can find his way around Tanner, I think this has to be the comeback drive of the race, because he had an absolute disaster start. I mean, he's got, on record, no lie, 4 pit stops. 4.
I believe 3 of those were before the competition caution.
Yeah, so, I mean, he has had a tough one, for sure. It'll be interesting to see if he can find his way around Tanner or not. If he can, boy, that's a drive. That's a drive. Sam Wilson has got a fight on his hands with Jaden Ledbetter as they get ready to go into, I believe that is Lodge Corner.
Yep.
And Jaden is scrapping with Sam, and they're both in different classes. But I think Jaden's like thinking to himself, it's like, I don't know if this dude's gonna end up pro or not. I need to figure out how to get around. And man, that 6'4" just went over the curb, and I thought he was gonna get launched into Jaden like a missile.
Anytime I see one of the GT4s go over that curb after I've seen both Scott and a couple others, it's always just a little bit harrowing. You have a brief moment where you're like,
Indeed.
oh, is it gonna?
Yep, and they are nose to tail. We got less than 2 minutes. We got less than a minute and a half, and these two are scrapping it out. We got Tommy and Tanner. They're scrapping it out. Chris Turner's catching up to Gabe Chavez. We've got so much going on here. Dylan Sauer's only 3/10 back from Mark Robeson. It is,
and
it's getting wild. It's getting
Mark
spicy.
Robeson is only really close now because of the traffic, and that was a lockup from Dylan in the back there. But the 3 of them are all battling for position with like about a second and a half between Milo and Dylan at the back of this trio.
Yeah, this is some pretty wild stuff. This is some real wild fighting. Closest fight on track though, Sam Wilson trying to hold off Jaden Ledbetter, as we've got to be white flag now with Ethan Hamlet. Ethan Hamlet, he's just blasting down the back straightaway now towards the chicane, and there's Tommy Cogan and Tanner Schiffner. If he if he clears those 2, they're going to finish in that order. So if I'm Tommy, I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall to try and find my way around Tanner Schiffner, but I think that gap's just a little too big.
Unfortunately, it's still looking like it. That is about a second fluctuating between two of them. And as I think Ethan gets by, at least Tommy, they don't think there's a whole lot either can do really, but especially not Tommy at the end of the race here.
Oh man, Tanner, if you've let him get around you, and that's going to do it. So Ethan Hamlet's going to take the win. Tanner Schiffner is going to hang on to second. Tommy Cogan's going to come across the line in third. Eduardo Zamora still has to finish. Where's Jaden Ledbetter? Jaden Ledbetter getting close to Lodge Corner right now. Logan
got around.
Damn. Yeah, he did. He did get around. He did get around Sam. Well, Sam probably was just like, you know what? I don't really want my race to end like this. And he's going to come across the line in second. Sam Wilson's going to come across the line in third. Logan Branson's going to hang on to, I believe, is that going to be second? No.
Third in AM.
Yeah.
Sean Sullivan is our second AM finisher.
Yeah, that is quite the finish for these folks. Eduardo Zamora still has yet to come around, but Tanner, there's Eduardo Zamora actually coming to the chicane right now, so he's actually spaced out pretty far from Ethan. But Eduardo's going to come across the line in first. Tanner Schiffner is going to be in second. Tommy Cogan's going to be in third. I don't know why I'm moving around for that. Christopher Blue is going to come across the line in fifth with Anthony Newman sixth. That's going to round out your top six. We got a few cars getting ready to come across the line, and then we will take a look at the final results. But, man, what a race. And this man right here, again, just, yeah, no notes.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Walked away with it. I would say it was, it's I always, every once in a while, seeing that new fast session fastest lap was a gem to see.
Yeah. A 23.5 in race trim. Like, come on, that's kind of goofy. Oh, he's doing V8 supercar burnout for Ethan Hamlet, who takes round 4 here at Oulton Park. Big result for him. This man right here has got to be absolutely stoked with that finish. Eduardo Zamora in the 228, taking the win at Oulton Park. And I'm saying it put me down for it. Tommy Cogan, he's not on track anymore, but Tommy Cogan is the comeback drive for me. I mean, that was a wild comeback drive. Although Tanner, hats off to Tanner as well. That was also a big comeback drive for him as well. He's got 3 pit stops on the books. So,
yeah, I'd say both of them had a fantastic drives. Tommy Cogan probably going to be that comeback driver of the day, if you will. But Tanner really close, almost on the same level between the two of them in terms of the amount of effort they threw in there to get back to the positions they did for their finishes, respectively.
So let's get those results pulled up for everyone at home. There's your LMP3 results. To no one's surprise, Ethan Hamlet on top, Jaden Ledbetter coming across in second. That seems to be the duo that we see finishing out these races. Yeah, Jaden, you're in chat. We're going to have to figure this out. I think we're going to have, unfortunately, 2 exports for the race. I don't know if you know anybody that does video editing. Might have to stitch the 2 together.
I know a guy.
You know a guy?
It might be me.
Yeah, well, I mean, might have to do that, unfortunately. I think my my Arkansas internet, I don't know, something to do with like backwoods electricity. Don't blame me. I don't make the rules. Anyway, so LMP3. Let's also talk about another comeback drive, the 950 Chris Turner. Early on, before that competition yellow hitting the curb on entry to Cascades, and seeing him send off into the wall, broke the right front suspension, but able to get back up into 5th in the overall and keeping it in the podium positions for Chris Turner. That's going to be a good points haul.
Oh, yeah. Kept his head down. Very good drive from him. Basically getting to see him. I think also really, really beneficial, the kind of grace given to him by the race control, putting him back at the end of the LMP3 field. I think it was also, very safe way to do it. But really gave him that good shot to get back into the fight after that competition caution.
Yeah, that is a good result for Chris. Milo, that points lead is going to be in jeopardy, if not gone, especially with Sam Wilson finishing third. Although Jaden, you might want to revisit Sam. Just saying. Anyway, good results in LMP3. I thought it was a very exciting show. Let's jump over to those GT4 runners now as we get ready to close this show out here. Round 4, Track Limits Racing Sports Car Series at Oulton Park. That guy has to be beaming. Like there's probably a smile on Eduardo Zamora's face that would rival that wide sniffer on the M4 for sure. So it is a good race for Eduardo. Tanner Schiffner, Tommy Kogan, both having a little bit more drama on track than they probably wanted in their first portion of the race, but coming across with a second, third place finish. Sean Sullivan, that $20 on Sully was a safe bet there.
I absolutely would agree.
So the 66 coming in top of the AM category with Christopher Blue punching in. Oh, excuse me. If Zamora is AM, Sean Sullivan will be in second with Christopher Blue in third. So that would put Tanner Schiffner at the top of pro category with Tommy Kogan coming in second, and I believe Ryan getting the third spot. So that second to fifth battle, that's gonna be interesting to see how the points shake out in GT4. That second to fifth battle in pro category, and then seeing how the AM category winds out. Finn, what was your takeaway from this race?
Absolutely. I think the things that we talked about at the beginning, mostly being the attrition we saw throughout this race, especially towards the beginning with the restart, really being able to kind of keep a consistent pace is, and stay out of trouble really seems to take, Zamora took, Tanner and Tommy after their, after the race restart really took them very far places. And these narrow tracks really capitalize on traffic and maneuvering it without damaging yourself or others. We saw a lot of that I'm really interested to see if that will continue at Long Beach or not. Some of these incidents that I think, given a little more patience, I think it would help resolve a couple of the easy ones. But overall, it was fantastic racing across the board. Those recovery drives from Tommy and Tanner still kind of sitting at the top of my mind, but that consistent pace from Zamora, despite watching Scott pass him twice, to just go, nope, I'm gonna keep my head down, I'm gonna do my drive the way I'm doing it, and then if I get something out of it, I'm gonna capitalize on it, and he absolutely did. So things of that nature, it's fantastic driving all across. I had a blast watching all of them put on their driving shoes and go around Oulton Park for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it is. It was a good show, and we're going to be back in a couple weeks' time, October 26th, for what's going to be a really good show. I think round 5 could be my pick for race of the season, just because I love that track so much. It's going to be a real amazing battle, and we will have. I think we're going to have kind of a similar showing that we had at Oulton Park. But at the same time, too, I'm thinking that, we're going to definitely have one big difference, I think, in comparison to Oulton Park, even though the tracks are both very narrow. We had a absolute truckload of off tracks here at Oulton Park. You can't do that at Long Beach. That's a wall.
Yep,
so
there is no room.
So I don't think we're going to be seeing 42 off tracks at Long Beach. I think we're going to see, if we see that kind of racing, we're going to see a lot of people going in pit stops and definitely tipping their mechanics. It's going to be interesting. But 90 minutes Long Beach, October 26th. I don't know about you, Finn, but I'm really looking forward to that show, and I hope to see the whole audience there. I think it's going to be a banger.
I think so as well. I love Long Beach. I'm a big fan of street circuits and machinery like this, so it'll be a blast to see it here in a couple weeks' time. I'm hoping everybody else at home is going to enjoy it as much as we will, I think. But it's been a blast as always. Thank you all for having me as usual.
Yeah. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call round 4 done and dusted, and we'll see you all next time, October 26th, here at Track Limits Racing, Long Beach. The sports car series moves on, and we are going to be finishing out the season with the last 3 rounds to see how this all shakes out. It is really high stakes right now, especially in GT4. If you're not a part of the community, please feel free to look us up on simgrid.com, Track Limits Racing, Sports Car Series Season 2. If you want to be a part of the show, come join us. And as always, be there with us in chat as we watch these drivers put on a show for us each round. But until next time, I'm Whelpcakes and Fettuccine joining me in the booth. As always, sir, thank you for doing this. And we will see you all next time at Long Beach. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.